Hey everybody, Shane Withenshaw from RSW Guitars here. Today we're going to be looking at installing the headstock bindings, including a bathroom inspired idea to bend the wood. Curious? Stick around. Okay, so on to cutting the channel for the binding on the headstock. First thing we're going to do is we're going to remove our fence here from the table. So we want that completely out of the way. Take it down there pretty good. Okay, I'll set that aside. And you got to change our bit out here. So let's pop that off there. Drop, and what we're going to be using here is, I believe, it is a 1/2 inch bit with a 3/8 bearing on it. So what that's going to do is it's going to give us like a 1/16 rabbet cut. So take that, drop it into our router. Okay, so now we need to set our height. So we're going with a 3/16 binding, so we got to make sure that that we have 3/16 of an inch. So that will constitute the height of our bit. We want to see where we're at here. Our router, by the way, is unplugged. Always make sure you unplug your tools before you go setting them up and stuff like that. You don't want it to accidentally turn on. Well, you've seen the movie Maximum Overdrive, right? You just never know. Okay, we're looking pretty good right there. So we're going to lock it down, and we're going to run a test piece first, of course. Okay, let's check this one out. Perfect. Okay, we know we're good to go. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that we keep the headstock portion of this neck blank securely fastened to the table while we're running this through. We're just going to do that with a steady hand and you know, work slowly. It doesn't matter if you burn this channel here because we're going to be gluing some binding into it anyway. So you know, just take your time. Make sure you get it nice and straight and consistent. There you have it. Your channel all cut in there. We're ready to put some binding in there. Okay, so keeping with the theme of my shop breaking down slowly but surely, first with the lights, then with the power supply for my router table. Now my bending iron is comped out on me. So I put one on order, but it's not going to be here for a few days, and we don't have a few days. So I'm going to show you this step. This is going to be the MacGyver way of bending wood bindings. So what you need to do is you need to get in your vehicle, go down to your local Walmart or whatever, Zellers or whatever store you're going to pick, and buy yourself a cheap curling iron. You know, the bigger one you can get, the better, or whatever, more powerful one or whatever you can get, the better. You want as much heat as possible on this. So that's all I've done. So I went down there and got myself a curling iron. Okay, it's been heating up for a little bit here, and I got myself some work gloves here as well. You're going to want to wear these. But what we're going to do is we're going to take our piece that we want to bend, and I have cut a couple pieces of aluminum flat stock. And all we're going to do is we're going to sandwich this piece of binding in between the two pieces of aluminum. I'm going to take some masking tape here. And we're going to wrap it up. Okay, so piece here. You know, it doesn't have to be crazy tight or anything, just so that the piece of wood doesn't slip out from between the two pieces of aluminum here. And what this is going to do is, as we bend the wood, the fibers stretch. It's going to keep them. It's going to kind of reinforce them, so we don't end up breaking the piece as we're bending it. You know, this stuff is pretty pliable, especially at this thickness, but you just want to make sure that you've got, you know, more than enough strength on it that it's not going to break, because nothing. So this takes a little while. Nothing sucks more than getting it almost there and then snap, and you got to start over again. Maple's not too bad for that, but you get into using mahogany or ebony and things like that, and it gets pretty tough to do, especially with a curling iron. So you know, I'm glad we're not doing ebony bindings on this thing, or you know, I would have probably just held off until I get my new one, till it's shipped here. But you know, I'm pretty confident this will work for the maple ones. So we're just gonna improvise here. I'm gonna put this piece of tape. I'm gonna put it right here, because the bend we're going for on this one is starts pretty close to the edge here. So now next, what we're gonna do, we're gonna take a spray bottle here. First, we're gonna, yeah, that's, if you know that if you spray that, if the water bounces off it, it's pretty much warm enough to start. Now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna take a spray bottle and we're gonna douse this piece of maple in here. Do it on both sides. And I just want to point out that the non-MacGyver way of doing this with an actual bending iron is exactly the same that I'm doing here. We're just using the proper tool for it instead of you know, a hair care product. But hey, if it works, it works. Works in a pinch, and we are in a pinch, so away we go. So it looks like my battery's starting to die here on the camera, so you know, I might fade out here after I've been doing this for a while, and then I'll fade back in or whatever after I change the battery. So now that we got this all you know, nicely soaked down with our water here, hit the iron again too, and we just want to set this on the iron. Make sure you're using your gloves, because this is going to get hot, and it'll take a while for it to heat up. You know, just kind of work it back and forth. Kind of go a little bit side to side, because you want to try and heat the fibers around the area where you're trying to bend as well. And I'm not putting any downward pressure on it just yet. I'm just kind of sliding it back and forth on the iron, letting it get nice and hot. You should be able to hear a little bit of a sizzling sound, and that's when you'll know you're pretty good to start trying to bend it. Okay, I'm starting to get that sizzle now. You can barely hear it, but it's starting to warm up. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start putting a little bit of downward pressure, not a lot. Don't force it, let it kind of work naturally. So you're kind of pushing down, feeling that resistance, and then you should feel the resistance. After a while, the resistance should just start to be less and less. Just keep pushing down. It takes a while to do this. You know, the process would be a little bit faster if I did have an actual heating iron, because they get a lot hotter than these curling irons do. And, you need a lot of heat and a lot of moisture. Not really water, but just moisture for this process here. You can see I'm starting to get some curl to this here now. Now when you start to get this, just make sure you don't go too far with it. And pop it off the iron and then just kind of hold it in that position here and let it cool off. See what we got here? Yeah, we got a pretty good bend starting. Okay, so we've got a nice curve started on here. You can see that. And we're just going to spritz it again with some water. Both sides. Just want to keep it nice and wet. And set her on there again. Now the idea here is you want to over bend this, because as it dries it's going to spring back a little bit. We're getting some pretty good bend out of this one here though. It's looking pretty good. We've almost got it bent completely around this iron. That looks pretty good. You can see here, quite the bend going on there now. Okay, so just kind of hold it here. I would give it about 2 or 3 minutes. Let it cool off a bit. That's looking pretty good. I'm going to check that against my against the channel and the headstock. Okay, that one fit well. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to do one more. Just to give you an idea. That was the tightest radius that we will be doing on this headstock. So the rest of them are pretty much sweeping arcs. They're not like you know, that as tight as that one anyways. So what we'll do is put our gloves on here. This is actually working surprisingly well. Yeah. So all of you guys out there who can't afford, $150, $200 bending iron, check out a $15 curling iron. I mean, look at that. That's pretty good results. So what we're going to do is of course we're just going to go through all the pieces that we need to, and then so I'll continue bending them or whatever until I get them all bent. Then we'll come back and we'll have a look at actually laying them on the headstock and marking out where we're going to be cutting them, because the cuts have to be pretty accurate so that we don't end up with any gaps where where 2 pieces of binding come together. So we'll get the rest of these bent up, and then we'll have a look at that process.